Alright, time for another draftphysics.com, debatephysics.com also, but Jesus, you just can't buy, can't bribe, can't humiliate anything into a rational, argument to counter argument style debate. Just can't be done. So we're stuck with this throw stuff into the space ocean, throwing our little bottle of argument and seeing if somebody finds the bottle, can actually read it and actually respond to it. But it's just really not going to happen on this internet, obviously. So there's an old short I didn't see for probably lots of good reasons. Like I wouldn't go looking for it. But anyway, so instead of saying, well, I probably ought to try downloading this, but it's hard to download shorts. So I just said, oh, fuck it. I'll just play it in a video and then I'll have it forever. Forever and ever. All right. So this is Ian Gosling a month ago making some kind of argument. Who knows? Anyway, and yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all.
I wanted to make a note of something. This is a very difficult world for young minds.
Okay, so why is it difficult for young minds? I mean, it's never been a better world for a young mind in the sense that they really can choose almost anything. They have all this available content, and the only thing that's threatening that is people like you. We're making arguments that somehow other people shouldn't be listened to, and blah, 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 all of this, truther, cloud baby, whatever. What do you call them? You can't take the argument or something. You can't make a good counter argument. You're afraid of the argument. You're the threat. Anyway, continuing.
And there's a lot of deception going on. And
okay, yes, and the deceptions usually are kind of obviously deceptions. Like here, you can cure your cancer by, I don't know, taking some grass from your front lawn and drinking it before bed. Whatever the bullshit is. So, a lot of fake news, a lot of faked experiments. So, why don't you deal with that? Now, this bar just did an experiment with the hammer idea, and he's going to test the different masses. And he didn't acknowledge the fact that, well, when you do that, you have to figure out where the center of mass is, okay? Because if you make the center of mass higher and higher, it's falling less and less distance. Now, that's a clear giant error in the experiment. Did you point it out? Did he fix it? Did you fix any of the previous videos you did where you made a mistake? Did you? If any of those, have you acknowledged any of that in any of the videos or in their video titles? Or did you just deceive people with flawed experiments? I mean, grotesquely flawed. I mean, obviously it's not a fair fight. It's not a fair experiment. Did you do that? Just answer the question. Do you care that your own credibility and that of Dispar and that of Brozo and that of Falwell is in question because you do make huge giant mistakes and you just leave the videos up? Simple question.
The biggest deceivers is a man called Draft Science.
Right, and the deception is what? Well, I mean, what? Besides me making an argument and drawing it, how am I deceiving anybody, right? Am I misrepresenting some historical fact? Can you show me that? Show me where I misrepresented that truth. Where I misquoted something, where I cheated the argument in any way, where I did any experiments that were fundamentally flawed, okay, in the analysis, where I did anything near what you claim to have done, which is proven with flawed experiments. I didn't spin something on top of something and then say spinning is the same as walking across. I didn't do things like that. I mean, it's just so... you just wonder about how the character of people can be so bad. So to talk about how the world is in threat from, And you're the threat. You're the deceiver. You're the crook, the thief, the person who can't make the stand up, straight up argument.
Now, he's just claimed in one of his videos and asked if anybody can prove.
Yeah, that's what I did. So I asked, is there any evidence anywhere on this planet? Okay, can you provide me a piece of evidence showing? And then as soon as you show me the evidence, I'll go, oh, okay, there's the evidence. So, I mean, I have seen some evidence, okay? I saw the Mythbusters crash cars, and it sort of made sense to me. Twice the speed, twice the crush. No evidence there. So where do we go from there? Where's your counter piece of evidence?
Whether doubling the speed of a generator will achieve 4 times the power.
Yeah, it's obviously saying that's complete nonsense. Okay, so let's just play a little logic. Okay, you've heard of water wheels. They had those for centuries. You could argue some places had them for a lot longer, windmills and such. But anyway, so what's your argument? That if I make the water wheel smaller and therefore it rotates faster, it's going to produce more energy than a big water wheel? Well, the evidence is no. They tried to make water wheels as big as possible. Then I could argue, well, what if I took the volume of water that's coming down a trough and I dammed it? And so I could shut it off for a while and then let the water go at twice the volume and get twice the speed out of the water wheel. Am I getting 4 times the energy? Because then I do it all the time. I just keep damming and I keep stopping and starting rather than let a stream flow, because I can do so much better if I double the volume. So again, I can go to the analogy of electricity. That won't work for electricity. Double the amps. Well, that's all you're going to do is double the watts. Double the voltage, double the watts. The two are equal players in the function. So you don't even think, so this is a real question you could possibly answer someday. You don't think there's any way that those two theories of energy, right, wattage in electrical form and mechanical movement, need to blend with each other, need to have a consistency. So you think it's perfectly reasonable, okay, that motion momentum would have this velocity squared function and electricity wouldn't. You think so? You don't think anybody should even question the fact that, you know what, yeah, that doesn't really make sense that those two things would be different, because it's basically the force. They're both caused by a force, forces. And so you can understand that, well, why is the forces, when they're big and we can see them, it's v squared, and when we can't see it, somehow it's just v. Anything? You don't think it's reasonable for somebody to question that? You need to warn people against somebody who would say, you know what, that doesn't make much sense. Doesn't really fit with a theory of physics that has something to do with, it being simpler as it goes down and the elemental parts getting fewer and fewer. It doesn't fit with that logic. And that offends you, that somebody would argue that somehow it should, because you think God done it, huh?
Do you really want that to be proved, Gary?
I'd love to see. Yeah, well, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, I would really fucking like it. I'd like there to be some, and I'd like you to at least acknowledge, look, I mean, you let fucking physicist Michael run away, right? Because we finally had somebody on the hook with something to lose. He clearly said he was going to do the experiment, didn't do it. Didn't do the lever experiment under the specifications agreed upon. So you're the one letting the evidence slip out of our fingers. We need credible physics to take the subject seriously. Now, the fact that you think they don't need to, you don't need to produce any evidence. In hundreds of years, you don't need to do any of these experiments. So you're all convinced about what, I could even just, I was going to do this the other day just as, it's hard to figure out exactly mathematically what the scenario is. But obviously in the case of the Newton's cradle, right, when the masses are the same, it's just an idea that 100% of the energy goes this way and nothing goes this way, right? And all you're saying is that, okay, so as I increase the mass of this object, the amount of energy going this way declines, okay, and clearly the amount of energy that goes in a reflection increases, so there's this point where it's equal. But I'm just saying, I mean, it's obviously that's what's happening. It's obviously the more reflection is an indication of something not absorbing the energy. And I could do that with a tennis ball in a cardboard box on wheels. I mean, I could show that the more the cardboard box moves, and the more the thing I hit moves, the less the ball bounces back. I mean, kind of obvious. But I mean, the fact that they've never done these experiments, right? That we don't have, that we have to go out and say, okay, I mean, just as a piece of information, Despard is using glass marbles, which is probably the right way to go because, as Newton points out, they're, like 30% more efficient. Okay, I mean, they had a ratio of something like, I think he said 17 to 19, where, steel ball was 9 to 8 or something, or 7, well, whatever. It's a better ratio of more complete conservation of the energy. So why haven't they done the experiment? I mean, a one mass marble into a one mass, and then one mass into, say, 1.5, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and 6. Wouldn't it be nice if we had video of all of that on the same kind of background, be able to see exactly what takes place? But your physics hasn't done any of these experiments, right? So this is a real question to you. It doesn't bother you that in 300 years, you've never tested dropping 4 pounds 1 foot. Physics has never tested. And dropping 1 pound 4 feet. And seeing if they have the same impact energy. Ideally doing it with a pendulum, because then you take the weight problem. You remove the weight problem. And you're just measuring the momentum created by the fall. It doesn't bother you that none of that has to be demonstrated by the physics you're defending. And you're going to slander me as a deceiver because I question theories that have no evidence. Because I dare to question a theory that has no evidence. Besides the fact that it's a theory that just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. Again, I go to the electrical example. It doesn't fit. The two are, it's as different as bent space and photons. The two things being in the same universe, doing the same thing, doesn't make any sense. How can one thing be bent space and it pushes shit around, the other thing be real clumps of something and it pushes stuff around? You're satisfied with bent geodesic as an answer. And you're going to slander somebody who says, yeah, I'm not satisfied at all.
Because I think you'll back down and you'll backtrack.
Why would I do that? Again, there's absolutely no fucking evidence. You have no evidence of any motor taking 4 times the energy to spin it twice as fast, or 9 times the energy to spin it 3 times as fast, or 16 times the energy to spin it 4 times as fast. Absolutely no evidence that if I spin a turbine 4 times as fast, a generator on a bicycle even, that I'm going to get 16 times the electrical output. I am not going to do that. That is not going to happen. For fuck's sake. And you're the one making the claim with no evidence. Even though you've had decades and millions of dollars and all this stuff, and you haven't done any of these elemental experiments. You haven't proven something fundamental to your physics, which is this stupid mv squared nonsense. No go-to evidence. No fucking experiment clearly demonstrating it. Not a single one. That's why you're making this videos, because you don't have an experiment to show me instead. Shit.
But it's now recorded for posterity. Because
Yes, posterity should just, I'm talking posterity. What the fuck? Will you please piss on the graves of these assholes? I mean, they were belligerently assholes, okay? They weren't assholes on accident. I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. No. I mean, he's clearly heard me say you have zero evidence for your theory, yet you're shoving it down my goddamn throat like a fucking goddamn religious mullah. I'm not interested, Ayatollah. Okay? Fuck you. Fuck your religion. Show me some fucking evidence or shove your religion up your ass. Okay? Shove your bent geodesic. Okay? Your V squared shit. Alright? Keep it. Hold it all you want, but don't sell that shit. That fucking goddamn snake oil science. It's not science. It's pukey religion. You fuck.
But it's similar to all your other stupid claims.
Right, so it's a stupid claim because you can't defeat it with a simple piece of evidence. You can't show it creating twice as much, the 1 pound dropped 4 feet producing the same amount of impact as the 4 pounds dropped 1 foot. You can't show it, therefore. I mean, it's amazing. It's my fault you don't have any evidence. No, that's not my fault. It's your fault. And what's a bigger fault of yours is you won't even goddamn fucking admit it, that you don't have any fucking evidence. That in 300 years, yes, your physics has produced no evidence of any of its elemental claims.
Double the speed of a generator is not 4 times the power.
So what you're claiming it is. So he's repeating. He's not saying that. He's repeating me. Oh yeah, sure it is. Because I said so.
Do you want to withdraw that, Gary, or perhaps do a bit of research?
Exactly. So do a bit of research. I've shown you Wikipedia pages. I've watched the physics lectures. They are all in my videos. Will you please do the piece of research and show me what you've seen that I haven't? Show me your magical piece of evidence, because you could show it to me every day. You could just run the video on a loop. Okay, this short could have been a clip of the perfect piece of evidence. And yet instead you do this shit. Show me your reference.
I wanted to make a note of something.
Yes, we're just noting again that it isn't just being stupid. He can't just make the excuse that he's stupid because he's just grossly dishonest, right? I mean, to not admit he doesn't have any physical evidence, to not admit it. I'm just saying, show me. And they're saying, no, how obnoxious of you. You want proof of our God? You can't have that. We're not going to give you any evidence of our God. It's all magical God stuff. You have to prove he doesn't exist. So you have to do the Eddington experiment from space. It's your job. We don't have to do it, even though we have the technology and we have the ability. We're not obligated to do it. You're obligated to do it. Fuck that. Too ridiculous a standard.
This is a very difficult world.
Oh, fuck. That's it already? I was hoping for more.
For young minds.
Let's jump ahead. That really was the end? So he has no
There's
evidence.
There's a lot of deception going on.
Okay, well, that's it. All right. We'll not play it again. Bad enough the first time. So let's see. He did get comments. And they're, of course, shitty. This stupid Despar guy. He actually made a video where he says, Draft Science doesn't think we can do these experiments from our homes and in our garages. Yeah, because you're proving you can't. Oh, yeah. So I'll throw in a little shot at his experiment somewhere in this mess. Probably should have leave him alone. So again, yeah, that's all this is about. Is attacking me because of some bizarre. I don't even know what the issue is. I mean, clearly the threat is so minor. I mean, I can't generate anyone's interest in questioning the authority of the silly physicist. I mean, nobody's interested in that conversation. He will find out himself one way or another. So again, how did you find out? So card nose picker, how the fuck did you find out? Where's your piece of evidence? What convinced you that it's 1/2 mv²? It's so obviously 1/2 mv². I mean, it's so obvious that's how the world works. even though nothing else works that way. That's right, but just stop actively deceiving others and claiming the sole ownership of the truth and shitting on humanity. Yeah, so again, you're going to mix subjects. That's your prerogative. I'm here to discuss physics. You apparently want to discuss something else. That's your business. That's right, but just stopped actively deceiving. Oh, in case he's posted the same thing twice. Oh, that
I
was
wanted to make a note of something.
obnoxious. I really hate that about this short shit, the autoplay. Oh, it's
I
happening
wanted to make a
again.
note of something.
You can't scroll. Oh, don't scroll, Gary. Okay. And then Despar says, which of course he will never stop doing. So again, and so this is a guy again who's kept doing experiments. He did an experiment tipping over a milk bottle, complete deception. Okay, then he did this stupid hammer thing, smashing a spring, complete deception. He takes no responsibility for the lies that are overt in his videos. Disgusting human being. This is the only way to make himself feel better. That's your problem, right? You have all kinds of micro issues. And this is what you're doing with your fucking life, you fucking petty piece of hunk of crap. He has nothing else to do with his life than slander and insult the whole world. Yeah, and what part of the world do you think doesn't need insulting? Exactly. So please, you could answer my question. Who do you think's heroic on this planet? Who's your idol? Show me your idol. Show me who you think is a really great human being. Show me, fucker. And I'm sure it's going to be obvious he's a piece of shit. If you've heard of him, he's a piece of shit. Okay, there really isn't any, there's nothing to admire in humanity. And you can see it by, even the videos that get millions of views, these characters, they're just characters. Superman. They'll call themselves that, and make videos. I mean, it's really just so disgusting. All right. So anyway, it's so tedious. All right. So I'll do another little piece of logic here, and so I'll take a pause and go to the drawing board. All right. Should be back. Okay. So. I just try to think of ways of reasoning. So, Ian Gosling would call this deception. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is deception. I'm deceiving you by making this simple argument. So you have the bullet and the gun kind of problem, okay, where the gun's recoil is not obeying Newton's third law. Okay, it's not an equal and opposite reaction. The gun withdraws with, say, 2 joules of energy. The bullet leaves with 2,000 joules of energy. Okay. Now, I'd argue if you broke this down into the simple argument, which is this is 1,000 of this. Okay, going 1 mile an hour. All right. And this is one of these going 1,000 miles an hour. So that's what it can be analogized to. All right. And so what would happen if you had one of these, okay, going 1,000 miles an hour? And let's say you would let them inelastically interact. So they collected as they hit each other. So it's a field of little dead ones out here, and this one's going to fly into the field of little dead ones. So the first impact, what happens? Well, we agree on what happens, right? We know that the one mass, it's the one mass, and if they stick, they go off at half the velocity. So now the velocity is 500, right? Okay, so now you have a 2 mass going 500. And then if it collects another one, right, then we know it's going to lose a third. I mean, it's going to gain a third of its more mass. And so I should have figured this out ahead of time. So now it's going to be a 3 mass going, it's not 250, it's got to be 333, I guess. Right, and then if I hit the 4th one, then I'm going 250, right? So my velocity is declining, and if I just keep doing this, right, I'll eventually get to 1,000 of them. And guess how fast they're going to be going? 1 mile an hour. So they will eventually reach a mass and a velocity that's going to be identical to this circumstance. It's going to be the same as the gun. There's no doubt about it. So what's going to be your argument? That this gun, okay, I made a gun. I kept collecting bullets together in the shape of a gun. Okay, so now I've made a gun out of the bullets. So I have the same material, okay, and it's doing exactly the same thing now. It's going the same speed, and it's the same mass. So what's going to be your argument? That it has, it now only has 2 joules of energy. Okay, so it went, well, let's say 1 for the sake of this argument. This is 1 joule, and this is 1 joule. So now it only has 1 joule, so it lost 1,000, it lost its almost 1,000 joules, 999 joules of energy is lost. Are you going to say that this gun is hot? Is that what you're going to say? That it's got 1,000 watts of heat in it somehow, and that's what makes it distinctive, that still preserved its extra energy somewhere? Did it leak it to the environment? Well, we know that doesn't happen, because the collisions are conservative. We conserve the momentum when you do this, banging things in, sticking things. The sticking thing works really well and conserves the momentum. So what's going to be your argument? How did this dissipate its 1,000 times more energy? Was it going to dissipate it in any other form than this is going to be its dissipation? It's going to dissipate it, okay, by just sharing what it has. It can't give away what it doesn't have, and it doesn't have anything extra. All it has is the same thing that this has. The 2 things are equal. This is a fallacy. It never existed, never was, and it can't be realized in the real world. You can't actually force these things to create different amounts of movement in the universe. They will create the same. They will always reduce to the same number of atoms moving, the same velocity. They will always reduce to the same momentum. They can't make more momentum. This can only be converted into something that has the same momentum, the same MV, and then that can only be converted into something that has the same MV. You can't change the amount of MV in the universe. As Professor Lewin said, nature can deal with kinetic energy one way or the other. It's all fairy dust. Nature can't finagle momentum. Now, obviously, Professor Lewin finagled momentum all the time, but I'm just saying he said it as if it's really a law, a rule, a concept. If it's not a concept, why the fuck did he say it? To deceive people? Is that what it is? Why don't you make a video about how Professor Lewin is deceiving people by talking about some idea that you have to conserve momentum? No, you don't. You can break the rule anytime you want. You got 2,000 joules of energy, you create 2,000 joules of momentum. Well, no, you don't. Yeah, because it's not real. Okay. Best I can do for these morons. All right, so then the Dispar guy, I just throw this in. It's just something I noticed about the video he did. And you're saying, why did he do that? It's one of those little things. I noticed it the first time it played. I said, why the hell is that? I didn't make a deal out of it, but it really does make a difference in a Newton's cradle. So probably best to try to blow this up, I guess. Yeah. All right, so you can see that there's a real separation between these two. So I'll play the video right here. You can see it wobbles, gets wider, narrower, wider, narrower, but there's a real separation. Why would it be there? It's really... Newton's cradles don't work as well when you put air between them. It's really not a good idea. So why did he do it? Why isn't it playing? Interesting. Okay, now it's playing. So you can see that little bit of wobble. So yeah, it's not the widest 2 millimeters. Maybe it's only 1.5 millimeters, something like that. Who knows? But it's a real distance where they're not really in contact. And why would you do that? Why would you have that gap? Clearly, it's going to mean that the one ball hitting the other ball will hit it later in its path, beyond its peak velocity. And that isn't ideal, but it's ideal for him because it does guarantee that you get more energy coming back the other way, because you didn't give as much away to the bigger marble. So it does force a little more energy in the in the direction he wanted there to be more energy. So just another little flaw, but whatever. Oh, it's just so bad. All right, and finishing up. So Ian Gosling's last 2 videos, he was talking about this distance problem. So I pointed out how there's always the bias in the one direction for the velocity. And it's just a fact that that's the direction of the bias. And yes, the bias gets worse and worse the higher the angle with which you start at. So if you start at a 90-degree angle, the bias will be the greatest, but it still exists at lower angles. So the simple truth is that the release point should be closer to the 1/2 the velocity point than it is to the peak bottom that the pendulum swings to. And clearly in Dispar's case, that didn't happen. Okay, the bias was clearly in the other direction, and that's not a good sign, frankly. It's certainly not a sign that you reach the half velocity. So anyway, besides the fact that his thing was tilted, and there's lots of things wrong with the way he did that experiment, but whatever. Just more bullshit. So, as I recall in this video with this spinning stuff in a circle and claiming that's the same as going across thin ice. So it's the same as, the analogy of walking across thin ice is somehow duplicated. I have to move it in here. My mistake. It's somehow duplicated by going around in a circle. So going around in a circle duplicates walking across thin ice. Sure it does. Anyway, in that video he made some line at the end. You just wait and say, what do you think? You want real proof? I got real, he's supposed to have some experiment. It was supposed to be big proof, and that's 9 days ago. So apparently that experiment fell through. But maybe we won't see it because it fell through, right? So that's the game they play. They publish the crap that looks the way they want it to. They don't publish all the crap that don't work the way they want it to. And again, when Dispar never redoes all the experiments he did poorly. So if he's going to publish an experiment showing, the double the mass or 3 times the mass, okay, and he puts the mass in the wrong location, and then he doesn't redo the experiment with the mass in the right location, just to prove that, it doesn't matter that I had the mass in the wrong location. So if it proves your case when you do it wrong, you should have the integrity to do it my way and prove me right. But they don't have that integrity because they're the real liars and cheaters, as described. The real menaces to the truth. Alright, so enough of a video, I guess. It's just dismal how little there is on this internet. So few people of saying anything of interest. I could see, there's some comment about black holes. Maybe I'll deal with that. Alright, but there's always these, comments are just so useless. Anyway, so this asshole says, you could use brave. So, if something calls itself brave, I'm going to be really suspicious, right? so right there, oh, come on. That's like, I don't know, calling it dirty socks or something. I'm just not impressed. That is another browser that blocks ads for you. Why do I care? I don't make it. I'm not talking about ads being blocked. I don't have any. I want to see what people are selling. What they're making money selling. I want to see the people who have to make money making videos. I want to see what they are selling, frankly. So that's not an issue. The issue is YouTube is preventing me from posting response comments. Okay, that's the whole point. And because they're attacking the fact that they know I use Firefox, and they're attacking it. Seems clear. Nobody else is having this issue, so it's clearly them. I mean, again, this is my subscription page. Did you see any of this? Yeah. It's all the wrong size. Oh, look, it's still doing the Gosling thing. Isn't that interesting? I have to fix that. Alright, so that's my subscription page. Yeah, that's all I get. So comments I can still read. But anyway, I mean, it's been going on for weeks now, at least 2 weeks or more. So it's not some Firefox bug. It's a YouTube attack. Alright, anyway. So anyway, I'm just really uninterested in browser advice. Go fuck yourself. So I'll just remove that. Anyway. Alright, so this guy says, draft science, slightly off topic, but could you do a video on black holes? The only one I found is from 2015. Well, I don't think my opinion has changed any. I don't think there's anything called a black hole in the concept where matter is on top of matter, where you have something called a singularity, where all the matter is in one place. I don't think matter can be all in one place. So I think that's horse shit. Okay, I think it's garbage. It's nonsense. It's rubbish. You can't put an electron in the same place as another electron, or a proton in the same place that another proton is in. It can't happen. Doesn't happen is nonsense. What you can have is a very concise arrangement of electrons and protons, and it's called a neutron. So if you create a neutron star, okay, then you can create a very dense object. So just neutron stars alone, right? You're talking about, you could make a neutron star, that's this big, and it has the same mass as the Earth. That's what you can do. It's probably even more extreme than that. But I mean, it's an extremely viable and reasonable thing to understand that you don't need a singularity to create a massively gravitational object in terms of consolidating electrons and protons in one place. So it's imaginable that you have a basketball of neutrons, and it would have the gravity of the sun. And so you can just keep you make it a little bit bigger, then you have the gravity of a solar system. Then you have the gravity of, a big pile of gravity in a very small object. And these neutron stars could end up being just like magnets. Everything's well arranged. All the poles, proton, electron, proton, electron, proton, electron. And so they'd be very magnetic too. And so that fits. But black, there's no black in the sense that their theory that you can bend a photon with light is completely debatable. Okay, it's not been proven that light is bent by gravity. It has been proven that light is bent by scatter. That is, it's bent by banging into anything. Electrons, any piece of matter that when photons interact with matter, they scatter. And scatter can cause lensing. It can cause lots of effects. So obviously that explanation is viable as an explanation for 99% of the lensing images. You could argue is just scatter. And the fact is that it's never been demonstrated that a photon gives a shit about gravity, let alone being bent twice as much by gravity. And the Eddington experiment is a piece of garbage, and they've never done it. So they've had 60 years in space, and they've never done the experiment in space. 400 times better viewing. You could use Jupiter because you have so much better visibility. And they haven't done it, haven't tried it, haven't attempted it, nothing, zero. So you have this huge advantage, all these space telescopes, all this bullshit, all this hype, and none of it directed at one of the most important questions to answer. And none of them have done any of those experiments. Nothing. Just absolute zero. zero effort to confirm that stated fact. So yeah, black hole, stupid, because I don't think there's anything that can pull a photon. you can't stop a photon. You can't do it with a force. Forces don't interact with forces. You can't stop a photon with gravity. Can't happen. So nothing would be black. The simple truth is that something can be non-reflective. That is, it absorbs any energy you throw at it. So the fact that something would absorb all the energy and not reflect anything is perfectly viable. And if it's not on fire, it's not going to produce any light, right? I mean, if it's not doing fusion, it's not going to produce any heat. It's not going to be producing any excrement. Okay, so why would you think you should see it? But black holes, bullshit. Neutron stars, reasonable. Alright, enough of a statement. I just can't stand this fucking shithole. And some guy posts 3 comments, all one sentence crap, frankly. I mean, whatever. I just hate people. Why would you do that? Why would you post 3 comments on a video? I mean, why? 3 one-sentence comments, and some of them aren't even sentences because, there's no capital and there's no periods. It's just crap. I just don't understand. I mean, if you can't put any effort into commenting, don't comment. It's a thing, commenting. People are expected to read it and, think about what you're saying and all that kind of crap. And if you're going to take it this casually, you're just, puking on the idea of wasting neurons. I mean, you're just wasting my fucking time with drivel. Alright, anyway. Fuck people. Till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. Blah, 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 blah.